Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. So glad that you found us. Hopefully, you had a chance to turn on your closed captioning. We're excited to be able to bring you this information from Meet Leo in hopefully the language of your choice. Well, with that, I will do some official introductions and then we'll dive in. So, my name is Michelle Armstrong. I am a Logix Academy facilitator based out of Calgary, Alberta, here in Canada. I'm super thrilled to be able to work alongside a number of partners, and today's partner, Richard S. Shea from Found 42 and Meet Leo. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Michelle. Good to see you.
Tell us just a little bit about you, Richard, and how sort of you became part of this Meet Leo initiative.
Yeah, thanks. So I have been in the tech industry since 1997. Most recently, I was working at Google for 15 years. And all the way back in 1996, I was a high school English teacher until one of my students told me I didn't look like a teacher. I look like a business person. But I've always been an educator at heart. And after I left Google, I re-engaged them to talk about this program they launched called Meet Leo, which is all about helping parents, helping families, parents and children that all explore online together, explore AI together responsibly.
Yeah, and kind of important to get that information straight. AI, it's all around us. So this recording, this is designed for parents. So if you are a parent, this is for you. If you are an educator or anyone else, there will still be great information for you, but we encourage you pass this on to a parent near you. All sorts of great information coming your way. Just a bit of background on Logix Academy. If you have not heard of Logix Academy, they are Canada's leading STEM and technology provider and partner to all sorts of organizations. And today we're thrilled to be able to represent the Meet Leo team to help spread AI awareness. With that, before we dive in to the concepts of today. So you're going to learn all about Meet Leo, but we're probably going to come at you a little bit fast and furious. You can pause at any point, but I want to point out the link that you see on the screen right now, www.beresponsible.ai. That is a website. We're going to be referring to that website often. We're going to be showing you some resources you can find on there. There might even end up being new resources, but that's really the hub for all things AI for parents that we're going to be talking about today. So www.beresponsible.ai. Definitely keep that link handy. Well, with that, Richard, we'll just dive into Meet Leo. And I wonder, I'll switch over to your screen share so
Okay.
you can guide the slides.
Okay.
And they look exactly the same. But
Okay. Good.
Richard, take it away.
Yeah. So I'll just jump ahead a little bit. And thanks again, Michelle, for making this happen. And just to start off by saying, children are, of course, have been always surrounded by technology. And now with AI, it's really changing the way they search for information. It's changing the way we create, how we engage with information online. It's creating unique challenges, both for students, for children and parents, to navigate what's real, what's fake, and to use these tools responsibly. And so that's the whole purpose of what we're going to talk about today, is giving families confidence to explore safely and responsibly, give you some tools, some ways to have the conversation. And we're going to show you some really fun demos, not just to show you what's possible with the technology, but actually use it as a way to ground your conversations that you're having with your children about what these tools can do, how to use them responsibly, and how to ask the right questions when you're presented with information online.
Now, Richard, just on that note, so parents are watching us, they know, okay, great, I'm going to be able to work with my child. What grade levels ultimately are we going to be able to support most with this recording?
Yeah, so we see it as being sort of children 13 and up will be able to access all these different tools. But generally speaking, this is also just about any child that can search information online, it's going to be relevant to them. If they have access to a browser, much of this information is going to be highly relevant.
Perfect. And I think also parents, you're
Yeah, of
going to be
course.
helped to be able to help your child with this knowledge of AI for sure, whether or not they access it directly. So something for everyone. All right, keep going, Richard.
Yeah. So then the questions are like, how can we protect families online? What are the controls you put in place? And there's some tools that you can use that Google offers, but there are also just guardrails that you can create that are outside the technology, but more around the do's and don'ts of how to use them and establish sort of those boundaries for your children. And then how do you empower them to explore safely online? And so the program Meet Leo, this is a program that Google launched and is getting out there to as many parents and teachers as possible. And the whole idea is focusing on three key pillars: being safe, managing ground rules, and exploring responsibly, especially in this age of AI.
And then I guess to be clear as well, Richard, this is free programming from Google.
Mhm.
This is,
Yeah.
for anybody to access. Is that right?
Yes, this is everything's 100% free. Exactly.
Awesome. Magic
Great.
word.
There you go. Okay, so there's a QR code as a supplement. This is going directly to a publicly available Google site. You don't need to log in. And this is just giving you a high level overview of generative AI. So I often ask students, when was AI invented? And I get a wide range of responses. And it's everything from 3 years ago to 10 or 15 years ago. And we're going to Google that later to come up with the answer. But AI has been around for a long time. Generative AI is relatively recent. This is the ability to create new content. Okay. And we're going to show you some demos all along the way. But the idea here is, and actually, you know what, Michelle, maybe I'll just, to frame this a little bit, maybe I'll just show that first video. That actually could be an interesting way to set the conversation. What do you think?
I love it. And I
Yeah,
love switching things up for
cool.
sure.
So this is a video that's really inspired me. I'll show it to you real quick because it really sort of starts the conversation around how to explore AI responsibly.
Okay.
I've been doing calculations, as well as looking back at old NASA footage and raw data from satellites hovering above Earth. And I just can't escape the conclusion that the Earth might actually be flat. That's not me. It was never me. Those aren't my words. That's what's called a deep fake.
That's madness. I remember seeing that video before and, I thought, oh my gosh, what? The world's flat. Wait a second.
Yeah, it is. It is. Neil deGrasse Tyson does a very engaging, starts a very engaging conversation about this, but it is also scary if you're a parent trying to navigate this with your children. It is incredibly convincing what's out there today. So that's what we're going to try to help you do, is to think through this and actually use videos just like that as a way to demonstrate what's out there and to help empower them with critical thinking skills. Because students today are going to have these enormous challenges of determining what is real and how they double check information. And as Neil deGrasse Tyson said, they're going to really need to think like scientists, right?
Totally. Hey, on that note, Richard, am I correct that that video will be on that beresponsible.ai
Yes.
website as well? Aha. So beresponsible.ai, that website we showed you earlier. Definitely check that out. You can see that video as well.
Yeah. And so as a sort of grounding everything in terms of what AI is, it's a tool and it's not a replacement for critical thinking. And one thing that's very encouraging is that the students I've worked with, and when I talk about AI, they specifically say that their biggest concern is that AI can become a crutch, a way to sort of lean on it, and you ended up having like your skills sort of atrophy. And students don't want that. And of course, parents don't want that. None of us do. And the other thing to be mindful of with AI is that it can make mistakes. It can just sort of make things up. It's actually designed to, in some ways, to do that. It's basically the way these tools have been built. It is basically, it is often trying to come up with an answer if pressed, even if it's not the right answer. So sometimes you really need to double check your information. So putting deep fakes
Always.
aside, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's just incorrect information is what we need to be mindful of. We'll show you some demos of how to determine that. And it's not human. It's very easy for us to sort of project different human qualities in these tools, but these are, it's a pattern recognition machine. It's effectively it's auto completing. It's predicting the next word. It's not, it doesn't have its own sort of personality per se, even though we'll often feel that way. And so there's going to be a few things that we're going to introduce you to. This thing called AI mode, which is an amazing feature in Google search. I use it all the time. You may not even noticed it yet. And so we're going to show you like some of these really cool things you can do. And again, we're going to use it not as just a way to like show what's possible out there. It's really actually a way for you to sit side by side with your children to explore this together. And so we're going to show you AI mode, as I mentioned, this AI overview, which children can use to sort of quickly explore a topic and, sort of explore responsibly with curiosity. And it gives you sort of a snapshot of key information. We'll demonstrate that in a moment. And then the combination of both those tools, they have the same Google search quality and safety system. So guardrails designed to prevent harmful and explicit content from appearing in those responses.
And that's such a key thing, isn't it, Richard? Especially with other tools out there that maybe aren't as safe. We know, Google's commitment to safety is there. And so that's really great.
Yeah, exactly. And so the whole idea of AI mode, one thing that you can do is, and just sort of zooming in on the bottom there, like there are some activities that you can explore as suggestions, and make this sort of a way to sort of have fun exploring these topics while also developing those skills in critical thinking. And you can almost, as it's suggested here, like come up with something where you're going to explore a mystery and then use AI mode to sort of ask follow-up questions. And
I
so,
love
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's a big key thing. So parents, like, we know AI can help us get answers. It can help us, brainstorm. But I love this adding an element of a theme to what we're searching for. So the activity idea, Richard showing on that screen there, which is also on the website. But yeah, instead of, help me with my algebra unit, create a mystery story to help me with my algebra unit, like totally changes the engagement level of our students. So that's such a cool activity idea.
Yeah, I love it. So, and then there's this other feature, and this is specifically highlighted for children under the age of 18, which is, we're really focused on the parents of those children in this specific training. They'll receive what we refer to as a directed disclaimer. And this is basically encouraging them to check important information, sort of double checking that important information. You can see this is a sort of a link in that AI mode, which we're going to demonstrate to you in a moment. And then also another example here is this is just using this idea of like sort of an after dinner quiz. So one of your child is sort of getting ready for an exam and you want to help them, and instead of sort of giving answers, how can we create like a fun interactive quiz? We'll demonstrate that in a moment. And then we're going to use that was all focused on Google search. We're also going to use Google Gemini. So Gemini is the app that is what we refer to as a large language model. This is where you can have a conversation about a specific topic, and has some special features in there that you're not going to see in Google search, which we're going to demonstrate to you. So without further ado, live demo time. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to go into Google search, and let's go into, I'm going to just ask, I'm going to sort of go directly to googlesearch.com, google.com.
And then just switch over to
here we
that
go.
tab.
Share right there.
There you go. Awesome.
Okay, so let's think of
regular Google search right here. This is
regular
just
Google search.
okay.
How do I know the Earth is round? Okay, going back to Neil deGrasse Tyson's video, and then it gives me the AI overview through direct observation from space, the circular shadow it casts on the moon during lunar eclipses, and the way ships disappear hull first over the horizon. And then I'm going to go and ask a follow-up question. So this is that AI overview. It's giving you that quick answer using AI to explain it. And then it has a video here. It's got a link to the source information. Yeah. And then you'll notice down here, it says AI can make mistakes. So double check responses, which I love. So that is the overview. Now down here, I can make it, put my follow-up question there, or
maybe also just on that, Richard, because right there you did a Google search, and the first thing that comes up we notice is sort of that Gemini response, and then did you clicked on AI mode? Is that correct?
I'm about to click on AI right now. There we go.
Oh, so this was even before AI.
Yeah,
mode.
that was just the summary, right? And then now we get into AI mode, and this is where we're starting to have a conversation. When and how did humans first understand that the world was round? And then it goes into
I want to point out to those watching, Richard's using his voice to text feature. So he clicked on that microphone. He's using his voice to type. So he doesn't have to fumble with the keyboard. So that's also very cool. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so then it goes into like the timeline of these discoveries. And let's go into, I'm going to try something real quick. Create an interactive quiz on this topic. Let's see what happens there. Okay. I'm not sure if this is going to work. This is always just, this is okay, here we go. So created this quiz. It says, here's a round Earth discovery quiz. And then I'm going to scroll down and
it gives you the answer key.
Yeah.
Nice.
Make this quiz interactive. Let's see if this,
wow.
Let's see if this, hopefully it shows up in the side panel. Boom. Oh, it's not cooperating with me right now. Okay. Yeah. So I will create an interactive quiz on the Iron Age. Let's see if that works.
And what I also love, Richard, that you're doing, and so parents, we don't have all the answers. As much as we're trying to learn about AI, there's so much we don't know, and we just try things and see if it works. But that's sort of this new world we're living in as well.
Yeah. So it wasn't cooperating with me. Normally it would create this like interactive side panel, but today it didn't cooperate with me in demo mode. So I'm going to pivot over to a different tool. In this case, I'm going to use Gemini.
But let's just summarize kind of what that was. That was just using Google search. Google search and 100%. AI mode, that's it. So now what Richard's going to go into the Gemini app, which is dedicated to doing AI searches, that, probably a little more accurate, or hopefully going to work what we wanted to do.
It was not cooperating. The interactive quiz part, unfortunately, wasn't cooperating. But I'm going to show you this next thing, and that is, this is Gemini itself. This is where you're actually having a conversation, a dedicated tool. It has some very special features, which we're going to show you. And the first one, which is my favorite, is this thing called learn mode. So if I go to Gemini, and that's gemini.google.com, and I go into click on this to learn, and what learn mode does is it creates an experience where instead of giving you answers, it sort of flips it around. and turns into more of a conversation and more of a dialogue. And it's actually following the Socratic method of sort of asking questions. And so I'm going to go into learn mode. And let's say in my example, and this I'm sure happens to parents all the time, you are going into a very complex topic that you haven't studied in a very long time or at all, or you haven't studied at all. So I used a pretty sophisticated example. There's an image of a Fourier transform, which I'm just going to put that image in there, and I'll show you what that image is. So it's like pretty complicated if this is not something you've studied recently. So just taking like a little snippet of a book, and then what it's doing right now, it's saying, okay, let's look at the question posed at the very bottom. Is the sum of two periodic functions periodic? Let's explore this together. And to figure this out, this rule holds true for any two periodic functions. Like, then I could say something like, I don't understand any of this. I just don't have a background in this subject. Explain it to me as if I am 13 years old with no prior knowledge of this topic. Okay. And then it goes into switching into sort of taking that context and then giving this information to me in a way that's more easy to understand for the particular grade level. And most likely at your 13-year-old may not be studying Fourier transforms, but you'll notice then it kind of switches things up. It's like, okay, think about the flashing turn signals on a car. If a blinker flashes exactly once every second, it's a periodic event. Okay, the amount of time it takes to complete one cycle and flash again, that 1 second is called its period. And so it brings it into something that's, it leads with analogies. It leads with sort of simple things that sort of common everyday functions, common everyday examples. And so I really love this, especially when you're basically re-entering a topic that you haven't learned in quite some time. You're doing that together with your child.
And how many times have our children come to us? Yeah, when am I ever going to use this in real life? How does this apply to real life? Oh, well, hey, this is, and it just helps it make more sense to them too. So that's such a great feature.
Yeah. And then I have another example here from the French book Petit Prince. And I'll show you what the image is, but explain this to me in the framework of a new, an English speaker who is learning French for the first time.
Ooh.
Okay. And so I'll show you this. This is, many of us will recognize this famous children's book as if you learn French, you're going to study this book, this classic very early on. And then it goes in here and sort of crafts this lesson. Okay. And again, it says, welcome to the wonderful world of learning French. And it sort of explains the story on the page. And then it walks me through each part of the translation. And it breaks down like the different words and phrases and explains that to me step by step. So
it's not just like, oh, here's the translation. It's like, here, no, let's unpack this. Let's understand this. Here's the bits to help you learn. That's awesome.
Exactly. So in the interest of time, I'm going to get out of demo mode and to say, like, we show those two things to you as a way to inspire you to sort of sit side by side in front of a computer with your children and explore and have that sort of sense of curiosity together, while doing that as an opportunity to start talking about ways to do this sort of safely and responsibly. Okay, because we all have responsibility when it comes to AI, like in terms of interpreting that information, being critical thinkers. That's part of our responsibility. And when I say us, like all of us. And so, as part of this journey, start to ask them, like, what do you think about when you think about AI? What kind of questions do you have about this topic? And if you personally don't know the answer, this is something you're exploring together. You're definitely not supposed to have all the answers. In my mind, there's no such thing as an expert in AI. We're all learning. And one way to open this conversation is they might be talking about it at schools. You might hear them mention that. You could come up with an interesting question, like if you could invent a new technology to help you explore, like what would that be? You can also talk about the tech in your home or content that's been made with AI, as I show you with that Neil deGrasse Tyson example. And, you can think about like, what's a question you can ask to start a conversation? And I encourage you to start thinking this about exploring new technology responsibly. What might you hear in response? And what would you suggest to partner with your child around this issue? So just some questions, sort of food for thought for you. And when it comes to just more broadly, outside of just AI, looking at online tools, you have an opportunity, and we strongly encourage you to check in regularly with your children about how to stay safe online and using AI tools. Take a sort of balanced approach and not just focus on the risk, but also the opportunities. And make sure you just have an open communication channel so they feel like they can come to you whenever they see or hear anything online that makes them uncomfortable, including what they hear other people talk about. So, good example, your child may mention something related to something that came up at school around privacy or a fake image created with AI. Maybe they heard about someone, in the community who was scammed, unfortunately, by someone pretending to be someone else online. And they may be more receptive having these conversations if it's something that's sort of immediate and something they've heard about recently. And so we encourage you to think about to think how you're discussing AI today in your home, and think about the sort of questions you can ask to start that conversation. And then again, just anticipating responses. And then we'll sort of wrap up with some ideas here around introducing ground rules. All right. So we showed you AI mode, AI overviews. We talked about different ways to fun exercises to explore, but let's sort of think about start by looking at different levels. So there's sort of restrictive, like you can't use this, to actually write a paper for you. That's a very obvious hard restriction. Or another sort of more moderate in between space is where you're going to use it, but only for specific things such as brainstorming or initial research. And then in other cases where you just say, you can just explore any idea here. And that would be a good example of if you want to determine whether content is fake online, how you can search different sources, triangulate, or when it's exploring a topic, outside of class, something extra and interesting they want to learn.
And back to that, actually, Richard, if you don't mind, if you could just go back, especially that restrictive, how do our children know when not to use AI? And something that I use, if, my best friend is Richard and I'm, a grade 12 student, and if I say, can Richard write my essay for me? Okay, AI can't. Can Richard help me study for my test? Oh, Richard could help me study for my test.
It's a great way to think about it.
If you ask your children to replace, AI with their best friend's name, that can help them determine, if it's appropriate or not.
That's a really great idea. I've never thought of it that way. And so another sort of last thing around ground rules is just, again, more broadly, how do you make sure that they're using technology in general online responsibly? So they might talk about being tired after staying up too late watching videos. I know I'm guilty of that. Putting in my own app restrictions has been a huge blessing for my sleep. Maybe you notice they're just sort of reaching for their phone during dinner. You can even catch yourself scrolling before bed. So think of these ground rules as being sort of broader across all these different things that we use online. So again, thank you, Michelle, very much. I really appreciate the time. Thanks for the inspiration. Thanks for the conversation.
Yeah, and thanks to all those that are watching, knowing that AI, we've just hit the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more. So encourage you to jump over to that site, beresponsible.ai. There's lots over there. And then, as things get updated, hopefully more videos from us. But Richard, thank you so much. Excited to continue doing this work with you. So thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you. Bye-bye.